How's it going, everyone? And welcome back to another episode. My name is Danny, and this is Drinking with a Ginger. Tonight, I am drinking another IPA. Like I told you in the last one, it's probably going to be a running thing. The one tonight is called Phantom Bride, and it's made by Belching Beaver Brewing Company. Try saying that 5 times fast. They're out of Oceanside, California. And this beer is named after a song written by the band Deftones. I'm not really sure who they are. This beer was gifted to me for Valentine's Day in a little alcohol bucket thing that my girlfriend gave me. So I figured I'd try one of the new ones out tonight. She also gave me some other beers and 2 bottles of whiskey, so might be cracking one of those bottles open on the next podcast. Since I've done beers, a couple straight podcasts, so I might go back to the whiskey. So this can is interesting looking. The background of the can is all black. It's got yellow trim, and the main logo is. I can't remember what they're called, but it's those skulls that are painted bright colors. It's got like bright pink on the cheeks and bright blue on the forehead. There's roses around the skull and on the base of the logo. It's actually pretty cool looking. And it tastes pretty good as well. So I might have to ask her where she got this and get some more of these. Anyways, let's get into it. On this episode, I'm just going to be talking about how my weekend was and what I decided to do this weekend. I started it off in a I decided to do a lot of exercise, and I mean I love doing it, but after working out all week last week, I probably should have taken a day off before this. Saturday, my girlfriend and I decided to do a hike at the Gold Strike Hot Springs Trail. It's down near the end of Boulder City, just before the Hoover Dam. The beginning of the trail actually follows along with the 95, and the trail ends at the Nevada and Arizona border, right at the Colorado River. Unfortunately, we didn't actually make it all the way to the river. We later found out, actually on our way back to the top, we found out that we stopped and turned around probably about 75 to 100 yards away from the bottom of the trail. And when we found that out, we felt pretty defeated, and we were kind of pissed at ourselves for turning back. But there was no cell signal, so we couldn't really look at a map to see exactly how far we were, and neither one of us had done this trail, and there's no maps or markings or anything to tell you how far along you are. So there was really no telling how far we had to go before we were finished. The only way we knew how far we got is because we kept running into this other couple that was doing the hike, and on our way back, they ended up making it down, and then they came back and they caught us, and we told them where we stopped, and they told us that if we had kept going for, like I said, another 75 to 100 yards, we would have finished it. So that sucks, but we're probably going to go back and do that again. We just definitely have to get into hiking shape. That's a lot different than just being in exercising shape. Like, I run almost every night during the week, but when you're going up and down and around rocks, and this trail had some ropes that you have to climb up and climb down depending on which way you're going, and that takes a lot out of you. We're 3 days from this, and both of us are still pretty sore, mainly in the thighs and lower back area. it was a good hike. It wasn't too hard. It definitely wasn't easy with how, especially with the ropes. A lot of that was upper body strength, and it was a good hike. I meant to wear my boots for the hike, and I know I've been hiking before, and I know that boots are definitely an advantage. They can help a lot when you're hiking, and I very much missed my boots during this hike because in this trail there was water, and once our feet got wet, they were just slipping all over the rocks and just all over the trail, the whole environment. It was a disaster as soon as we started getting our feet wet. And that was pretty much the main reason why we turned around. We just couldn't grip our feet on anything, and we were slipping everywhere. And the last thing we wanted to do was fall, because shortly before we decided to stop, I had a little scare going down a rope, and my foot slipped off a rock, and I started falling. And I don't know how, but I was able to just hold on by the rope, because if I had let go, it was definitely going to be very painful. But yeah, it was a pretty cool hike. Like I said, we're definitely going to do it again. Looking at other hikes too. So if you guys have any suggestions about what we should do, just send them my way. Either text me if you have my number, or just post it on some type of social media, or just let me know in person next time you see me. Saturday night, we decided to go to an art gallery at the Bellagio. Apparently it's like some super famous art gallery, and a lot of people have been talking about it, so we decided to go. It's the Bellagio Gallery of Fine Arts, and we were both kind of let down. It was when you hear the term gallery, you might think like a lot of artwork or like a big area full of artwork, but this was literally just 2 rooms, and each room had one thing. And I mean, there were like pictures and like small pictures and stuff on the walls, and like a slideshow type thing playing on the TV of the artist talking about her life. But for the most part, it was kind of a letdown, because there was one room that had like basketball-sized silver reflective balls. I can't remember if they actually signified something or if that's just what she decided to create, but I was a little confused by that. And then the second part of that gallery was a little infinity mirror room. It was probably like the size of, I don't know, like the size of a bathroom or like a walk-in closet. It was pretty small. I think only 2 or 4 people can go in at a time, and you only get like 30 or 45 seconds to look at it. It's basically just a room, and there's a mirror on each wall to make it look like just an infinity room. And then it just dangles fake, like, I think they're supposed to look like candles, but it was just like lights hanging from the ceiling, and it looked like it was just an infinity room with lights everywhere. It reminded me a lot of when I was a kid, and I would just take the medicine cabinet mirror door thing and turn it all the way against the main mirror, and just cause like an infinity mirror that way on my own. So that's what that reminded me of. It was okay. I mean, out of the 2 attractions, that was probably the coolest one. It didn't really seem too busy there. I think there were only maybe like 10 or 12 people that were in the gallery while we were there, so it definitely wasn't busy for a Saturday night, which is good. But I mean, there wasn't too much to really see. So that was it for Saturday. Sunday was pretty relaxing. I can't remember what I did during the day. At night, I watched the UFC Fight Night, the first major event that is on ESPN, and there were a lot of really good fights. The main card was definitely, I believe there were 6 or 7 fights, and they were all good. The main ones that stuck out to me, there was two guys, Vicente Luque and Brian Barberena. They were fighting each other, and it was just a slugfest from the beginning to literally to the very end. I was looking up the stats from the fight earlier today, and there were 275 combined head hits, and that's just absolutely insane. Like it got to the point where me and the commentators were wondering, like, are either of these two guys able to be knocked out? Like, they were just taking shots to the face left and right, and they just stood there like nothing happened. And at the end of the fight, Luque ended up winning. He was able to, shockingly, knock out Barberena with 6 seconds left. And I heard that if it had finished and gone to a decision, that Barberena was going to win. So if he had just held on for 6 seconds longer, he would have won that fight. But ultimately, he got knocked out with 6 seconds left. And I am surprised that one of them was able to get knocked out. But the way that they were taking the head hits, I'm surprised the knockout didn't come earlier. Another one of the fights that stuck out to me was Kron Gracie versus Alex Kamaris. And Kron Gracie comes from a family that the Gracie family is very big in the MMA or mixed martial arts world. It's a very popular name. They're very good fighters. Everyone who does that wants to train at a Gracie gym. They're very well known. So Sunday night was his first fight in the UFC. So a lot of people were excited to see what he could do, and they were paying attention, tuning in for his fight. And he did not let down. He was able to defeat Alex Canaris by a chokehold about 2 minutes into the fight. I'm sorry, it's Alex Caceres. 2 minutes into the fight. And it definitely wasn't a shock. It was, a lot of people were saying that was going to happen. So nobody was really surprised by that, knowing that family and what they've done in the past. A submission was, it probably was the only way that fight was going to end. And then the main event of this fight card was between Cain Velasquez and Francis Ngannou. And Velasquez was coming off of, he was away for 2 years from the UFC. So he might have had some ring rust, maybe some nerves coming into this fight. And it was semi-disappointed. It ultimately went how I thought. Ngannou was able to knock out Velasquez, but he knocked out Velasquez 25 seconds into the fight, which was very shocking. I thought it was going to be, second round, maybe third round, and Ngannou would ultimately win, but he was able to win 25 seconds into the fight. So I wasn't shocked by the ending, but I thought the fight was going to be a lot better and definitely a lot longer. Velasquez was saying after the fight that his knee buckled, and you can kind of see it on the replay, and it kind of looks disgusting. I haven't heard if he's done any damage to it. I'm sure they're taking x-rays and doing MRIs and all that type of stuff, whatever they need to do to look at ligaments. But it'll definitely be interesting to see if he tore anything, since he did just get back this weekend from a 2-year layoff. If he tore something, he's probably out another year maybe. So, and he's getting up there in age, so this might be the end of him, depending on how bad his knee is, or if it was just a knockout, that's what put him on the ground. So we'll see. And then the final thing I did to wrap up my weekend, went to see Bert Kreischer, his comedy stand-up at the Mirage, and that definitely did not let down. His opening act was Dave Williamson, and they're both hysterical. That's the first time I've ever heard Dave Williamson do stand-up, but I'm definitely going to look more into him. He had some really good bits and had me almost in tears. I was laughing pretty hard. For Bert Kreischer, I've been a big fan of his for probably about the last year and a half. And I've seen a lot of his, that's the first time I've seen him live, but I've seen a lot of his bits on YouTube, and I saw his comedy special that came out last summer, and they're hysterical. Him and his whole family, which is like a lot of his bits were based on his family. That's just how he does it. He bases it on his life, and they're really funny. I definitely suggest checking him out if you've never heard of him or seen any of his stuff. His major bit, the one that he's most known for, it's his nickname is The Machine, and he got it from one of his bits. He does a story about going to Russia when he was back in college. So if you want to get introduced to him, I would check out the bit. It's called The Machine. That's his most well-known one. So definitely start there, and then just branch off to whatever is recommended by YouTube or however you're looking at his bits. But I definitely suggest checking that and watching his Netflix special. That doesn't disappoint either. All right, so I just wanted to do a semi-small one tonight. So that about wraps it up for this one. Hopefully I can get another one out later this week. I'll see if the schedule works. I'm liking doing this. I gotta pay more attention to other things around, so I get other things to talk about, If there's anything you want me to talk about, just let me know, and I'll do some research into the topic, so I'm not going into this thing talking out of my ass and not know what I'm talking about. But yeah, that's it for me. And if you guys please could, go ahead, follow me on social medias, Instagram, Twitter, and subscribe on YouTube so that you can get an alert whenever I post new stuff, and you can go take a listen. Thank you very much. Have a good night.